Hi guys and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to yet another episode reaction for the Summer Hikaru Died. This has been an incredible series. I will save my thoughts on the series for the end, but I have loved this so much and I can't believe we are finally here. We are at the final episode. This is of course, like last year, our Halloween series, our October series that we're checking out. Last year we checked out Devilman Crybaby. This year we checked out The Summer Hikaru Died. Wow. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. It has been on my mind at all times and yeah, I'm so sad that we're getting to the end. I can't believe it. If I'm being perfectly honest, I don't really want to watch this last episode simply because I don't want it to end. Like it's that kind of feeling where I feel a huge pressure or like I feel like I'm really anxious to do this because like this happens all the time when I'm about to check out the final episode of a series. It happened with Steins Gate, it happened with, you know, different seasons of ReZero and stuff, it happened with Devilman Crybaby, and here we are again. We are checking out the last episode of season 1 of The Summer Hikaru Died and I am very nervous. But yeah, I don't really think I have too much to say about this one. Before we just check this out, I guess I'll just throw out a theory or an idea, I guess, that I have. The idea is that I'm thinking perhaps the being that is possessing these other people, you know, that killed old man Takeda and maybe also went to Matsura, I think it might be related to Hichi because the transformation we saw in Old Man Takeda looked very Hichi in appearance. So I'm wondering if there's more to Hichi than meets the eye. It's not just going up to the mountain and, you know, apologizing and everything like that. There's probably more to it. And yeah, I feel like Hichi has maybe been set free, set loose, and it is doing damage and doing stuff to all the people that saw something years ago, like Matsura or Mantakeda. That's something I'm thinking of, you know, like they saw something a while ago. They saw something that maybe one of the Indos was doing when they brought Hichi up to the mountain, and so it has been seeking them out. And especially since these people might be responsible for the death of one of the Indos. That's my thought anyway. I don't have definitive proof or anything to back that up, but just based on the appearance that we saw of Old Man Takeda, I do think that Hichi is maybe more involved than it seems right now. And yeah, that's kind of like the only theory I want to throw out there before starting this episode. So yeah, I'm just going to jump right into this one. If you guys do enjoy these videos and if you have enjoyed these uploads for my reactions to the episodes for The Summer Hikaru Dies Season 1 of course, please leave a like and subscribe. It means a lot and it really helps to show how much you appreciate and support these videos. And leave a comment down below of course, letting me know your thoughts on this entire series. Share all of your feelings, share everything you felt, if you went and jumped straight into the manga, if you're anxiously waiting for season 2, just let's celebrate this series in the comments below. And of course, as always, share this with a friend if you think they might enjoy this video or these videos. You can share the whole playlist at this point because we are now finished, and hit the notification bell down below so that you will be notified when further uploads on the channel appear. And yeah, let's just jump right into this one. Whew. Let's see what they have in store for us in the final episode, episode number 12 of The Summer Hikaru Died. Let's go. Whew, alright, one thing I also want to throw out a theory or an idea that I think we're going to see in this episode. I think we're going to see the beach. The episode that keeps being teased in the ending.
No.
Ron? Oh shit, no, don't part ways. No, don't act this out through these things. Aww. He's doing it under the guise of these characters. He's acting out this thing and he's realizing, oh, a little laugh? What was the laugh about? Was it like an awkward, nervous laugh? It didn't seem like it. Is he laughing at the absurdity of himself, you know, realizing he finds it funny that he's even thinking these things? Since realistically, he's only ever lived on the mountain for years and years and years. I'm not sure. But, oh, I've been talking over the opening. Oh, it's such a great opening. Oh, that's the last time we're gonna hear the opening while watching a new episode. Damn. Can't believe it. Oh? You're going? It's what was that? It's plays? That was so fast. Wow, the way he's turned away. That changes the subject. Turned away from the rest of the family. Kind of says a lot. I'm excited for summer. What is this drawing? The teacher? That's funny. Wow, look at the mark in his arm now. It looks really pronounced. That it does. School assembly. Is this the headmaster? First semester. Summertime break certainly is upon us. What's he doing in the locker room? Is he leaving something in Yoshi's locker? Rising above. Asako? Why does she excuse herself? No. Is something gonna happen? She's been asked to go to the classroom and I don't like it. Look at him. He's like thinking of all the fond memories he has. That seems very Hikaru, to be fair. It's about no Nuki-sama. This whole time? Actually? For real? But Uniki though? Pointless from the start, okay, so the father was right? What? What? Can avoid being wiped out? That's a lot. Summer break starts tomorrow. And you're gonna go to the beach, right? Ah, yeah, that sounds like you. That sounds like me. You're thinking that's not the real Hikaru, right? He would never have done that. Shit. There it is. Oh no, the glowing red eyes. I don't like it. Don't do anything to her. Oh, okay. Okay. He knows. He knows better. But she did notice, which is what they were talking about a couple episodes ago. Yeah. It is scary. Yeah. Aww. Because he hasn't done anything wrong to you, he's still also just trying to live. And here you are fulfilling that promise. That I wouldn't kill anybody? You're just saying that out loud? Sadly not. And that's the really interesting thing about this. Oh. Oh, he's going over to comfort her. Is he? No? Oh, wipe her tears away. Oh. He wanted to comfort her. Everyone should have mourned, yeah. Exactly, that's what I was thinking. She's the first person we've seen literally mourn him in front of him. Yeah, he had to do it by himself. He'd still be suffering. It's so tricky. I'm glad that they had that moment. That was so touching. That was a thoroughly beautiful scene. And it means a lot to have someone actually grieving him. Someone who knows what Yoshiki's experiencing. That's a 5-year-old child! What are you talking about? Oh my god, the gossip. Stop with the gossip. Oh, shut up. Oh, stop you two. Get these guys out of here. Get him out. He's here to take him away. That's what he was wearing when they went to the beach. No, it is. Oh shit. Here we go. Wow, it's the ending. Look at the real mountain in the background. That's real imagery. Like, it's... Shit. Damn, look at that thing. It's crazy. It's so dark. That's so cool though, seeing like the real imagery in the background, like the real like video. Wow. It's adding a lot of gravity to what they're experiencing, seeing the world this way. Like, it's adding a lot of realism, I guess. Pull the face. Here it is. There it is. Finally got a laugh. Oh. Oh, you're getting it for your little sister. The cutest one. He got this for his little sister. Why don't you deflate it? Yeah, literally. Hikaru with the sense. Aww. That's true. She does have friends. I just wonder what's going on with her at school and everything. You just don't have access to them? Yep. And you don't need heads, right? Any wish. Bring Hikaru back is what he's gonna say now. Don't do it. Okay, good. Oh, I thought he was gonna say it. Yep. Cicada? Is it cicada? I don't know. Mint. Oh shit! No claws though? You got lucky. Mint was doing a big dance. The big shadow cast over the mountain. Ooh, at least once? What do you mean at least once? Are you still considering everything? Wow. It's so pretty. This time Hikaru's carrying it around. They're taking turns. Just runs in. Oh, he's adorable though with his, like, he's literally a child that's discovering all this stuff for the first time. He's so precious. A snake? They did. They said they would do it during the summer break, and here we are. Cut to them? No? You would have loved it, Hikaru. It really does. This does. Here we go again. Was it the words? He doesn't even know the words, but he loves it. Like, it's been really nice seeing this version of Hikaru discover a life, discover things that he enjoys and things that he likes. It's really precious and adorable. He did. Damn. Don't do that. Damn.
俺の本性が出たからやね。自分の空っぽな部分を埋めたくて魂が欲しくなる。人にはようわからんよな。
Oh god, look at this.
こういう存在なんやと思う。人もたくさん殺しとるし、また殺してしまうかもしれん。
You might start again.
でも屋敷は殺したないから。
But you showed within this episode an ability to suppress it.
屋敷が生きてる間くらいは平和になるはず。はあ、無理やろ、あかんやろ。何のために必死で調べて。化け物はおらんくなって、お前は光の死を受け入れて
The monster goes away.
人として生きていくんや。めでたしめでたし。お前ここにいたんやろ。そうやないの。俺に渡した半分はどうすんの。知らへんお前が簡単にその体から離れられんのか。
Oh.
ほら
Damn, this intensity from Yoshiki here. It's scary because it feels like it's him not willing to give up Hikaru more than anything here. Hikaru was going about that very well there, I would say. Probably a cat guy. But you love it? Not a single similarity at all. Besides appearance. Oh. Not in a romantic or...
ちゃんと俺の気持ちやで。光やなくて化け物の俺の。化け物は息がしづらくて俺や。
You're not a monster. You're not a monster at all.
お前とおると俺も救われるから。
You're not ready to move
ただ
on.
のエゴやん。俺は光のため村のためって責任転嫁して全部自分のためやんか。よしき
I don't think that's entirely true.
ありがとうな。
Oh
違う
no.
代わりとかちゃう。お前諦めとるだけやろ。前向きにとか今さら押し付けてくんな。光の選択は
Wow, look at that.
間違ってない。お前のためにどんだけ頑張ってきたと思ったんねん。
Oh.
俺とは違う。
Jeez, this looks crazy.
俺やって帰りたないわ。化け物はおらんくなってめでたしめでたしなって。
Oh my god, the two boys. I don't want that. We heard Hikaru saying that a handful of episodes ago.
いつも本当の自分をバレやんように隠して生きとる。
That's really how you feel?
が人殺し屋としてもお前と光と一緒に。眩しい日差しがまた
I'm crying. I'm gonna start crying.
光の代わりなんかやないよ。
That was such a powerful scene.
お前に消えてほしないだけだ。最低の自己中クソ野郎や。
That's not the case.
なんや、そうやったんか。
Oh. This time he's rubbing your head.
今さ言われてもさ。お前さ。
No, he's not gonna go. Sorry. Oh no, it's getting away.
家に持って帰らんと代わりがなくで。いらんわ。あんまま遠くまで流されれば
Oh, wow. And that's the end. No, it isn't. Okay. Oh, that scene was so incredible. Wow, look who went out and got it. Or did he get a new one? That's wild. And that's how it ends. That's how the first season of The Summer Hikaru Dies ends. Wow. And that was episode number 12 of The Summer Hikaru Died. And with that, that was season 1 of The Summer Hikaru Died. Wow. Just wow. Like, I couldn't think of a better way to wrap up a season than for these two boys to have kind of expressed themselves the way they did to one another. Because we have seen scenes, I feel like especially more so with Hikaru, because Yoshiki is much more suppress, and he doesn't bring these things up. He doesn't really even think to himself these things. But I feel like we've heard Hikaru, like this fake Hikaru, within his own mind, you know, speaking to himself about how important Yoshiki is to him and how, like, everything like that. Like, that's something we were very aware of. And it's been very, very clear as well to us how Yoshiki feels about Hikaru. That has been no secret. But at the same time, Yoshiki's not exactly shared that with the viewer. It's kind of just obvious, I would want to say. I feel bad saying that because I do think he does a great job at hiding. Even like I say a great job, like I don't mean like, wow, what a great job you did. It's just like he hides his secret or his true self so well. I think that's how kind of he described it at the end of this episode, that nobody else realizes, nobody else knows. And it's funny that then it's the fake Haru that comes along and realizes these things. I'm not sure if a part of that is that he's able to tap into the real Hikaru's memories, who knew how Yoshiki maybe felt, but at the same time I'm casting doubt on that fact because of I think it was episode 1, maybe it was episode 2, where we did see a flashback scene with Hikaru asking Yoshiki about, you know, going to college, I think it was, and getting a girlfriend and everything like that. And then at the same time, this fake Hikaru has spent a lot of time with Yoshiki, so it would make sense that he would realize, perhaps. I think that this episode does a great job at taking you through the motions of how these two boys are and how these two boys feel and everything, because for the first time maybe this entire season, it almost feels like, from Yoshiki's point of view, like even before we saw the final scene and everything, it felt like Yoshiki had kind of, like, I'd be talking about this in the previous couple episodes as well, but it felt like he kind of eventually and finally was able to see this as not Hikaru. He was able to see this entity that was within Hikaru as something else entirely, and he was able to treat it a little differently and not, you know, treat it the same way he would have Hikaru, not expect it to be the exact same. But at the same time, there were several scenes throughout where he did still realize these differences, and it still did upset him and make him upset about his friend. And we saw, especially very recently, that he made a little tombstone, headstone, whatever you want to call it, for his friend, his dead friend, Hikaru, so that he could grieve him in a normal way. And that's something I'm not sure if he's had for a long time, but it's something that we saw very recently, and it kind of goes to show his headspace and everything that he needs and everything that he's doing in order to move on from that. And it's not exactly the most healthy way that he's been doing it, but at the same time, he can't really mourn his friend in a healthy way because he was the only person that knew about it, so he couldn't talk about it, he couldn't share his feelings. The only person he could talk about it with was Hikaru. And yeah, that just makes things even more complicated and tricky. We see that there is rain, and it looks very dark and gloomy, and it's interesting because I think that might be the first time we've seen rain in this series. So seeing the village in this kind of way was very surprising, in all honesty, because we've been used to the scorching heat. And speaking of rain, it's raining here quite heavily, which is very surprising because it's been very nice. Well, not very nice, it's been cold, but like it hasn't rained in quite a bit, in like a month anyway. So yeah, it's raining very heavy here, and so the episode began with heavy rain, and it added a level of melancholia, I would say, like sadness. And this darkness was kind of looming over the village. And then that's when we cut to Hikaru practicing saying goodbye basically to Yoshiki, saying that he's going to leave and thanks him for being a friend and everything like this. And while he's doing all this, it truly does feel like he is inserting himself into this role of this other character. He is essentially treating himself and Yoshiki as the characters of Ron and Killua. I don't know what his name is. Rillawa. It's cool to see that he's doing that comparison himself, because previously, when he was asking about why they were such great friends, these two characters, Yoshiki replied with, well, they're the only friends they've ever known. I think Hikaru latched onto those words and they kind of struck something within him, because Yoshiki is truly the only friend he has ever known in such a deep way. So I think he can actually put himself in these characters' shoes and compare himself to that, which is really cool to see, because we as viewers, while we're watching this, we put ourselves into the shoes of the characters within the series. So seeing a character in that series put himself into the shoes of someone else, it's like a never-ending loop almost. I don't know how to describe it, but I think it is very interesting, very cool to see him having that self-awareness. And Hikaru kind of collapses his arms down and he separates these two friends forever, one in each hand. I know that this was him kind of being so frustrated with the situation and just being so sad and upset, and that's kind of why he threw his arms down. But at the same time, you can kind of draw a story there where it's like he did, despite not wanting to, eventually break up the friendship. So it's kind of telling you his mental and telling you that despite the fact he doesn't want to, he will separate these two friends, himself and Yoshiki. He will do it because it's what needs to be done in his mind. I'm not saying it needs to be done. This is what he's been saying. And then Hikaru laughs, and I think that's kind of a laugh of realizing the absurdity of the situation he's in because of everything, like circumstantial wise, like he's not a real person, he's a monster, as he describes himself at the end of the episode. I think that this was him kind of realizing all the things that he said at the end of the episode to Yoshiki and just kind of laughing at himself and how he's feeling and why he feels the way he does. Like, he's laughing at the absurdity of everything, I believe. That's how I interpret that laugh anyway. So then we get to experience the wonderful, incredible opening for the Summer Hikaru Dies, Vondi's masterpiece that is Reunion or Saikai. It's such a great opening. Like, I have obvious bias for this opening because it's attached to a series that I have watched and loved and enjoyed. So, taking an unbiased approach to kind of choosing a favorite opening of the year or anything like that might be difficult, especially when I have such fond memories attached to this opening in particular. But this is an incredible opening, and it's definitely going to rank very highly in my favorites for the year. That's the last time we get to hear it organically with a new episode. Like, I could rewatch these episodes and rewatch the opening, but it's the last time we get to experience it attached to new content that is new to me. And yeah, this is one of those openings I don't think I would ever skip. I definitely listen to the song here and there on my own free time, and I absolutely have a blast with it. It is so incredible. I'm going to find out what the name of this episode was because it flashed so quickly that I didn't really get a chance to read it fully. We then, after the opening, cut to a scene where Yoshi's family is all eating breakfast together, and this episode is called Its Place. I see Its Place and I just for some reason think Radiohead, Everything in Its Right Place. We see the family sitting at the table, and it's an almost calm looking situation. There's no argument or anything like that, but within the scene you can learn a lot just from body language and the way characters are seated and the way they are kind of turned around literally. And within the scene, it's the two kids that are sitting with food in front of them, I believe anyway. It's kind of hard to tell if Yoshiki has food in front of him, but I would imagine so because he's hunched over. Hikaru's talking about having an upcoming trip. Her friends are going to the pool and she needs a ring. So it's interesting because she's talking about her school friends, and she's a character who doesn't go to school, so it's good to see that she still has friends. She still maintains those friendships. And you can see that the mother has an apron on. It's the same apron that Yoshiki wore to school one day, and it shows that she's the one that made the food and everything, so it kind of tells you a little bit of a story there. She made the food, she sat down and maybe is eating herself, whereas the father, he is not eating with them. He's not eating any of the food that they're sharing. Instead, he's turned around, faced the other direction, completely opposite away from them, and he's reading a book and drinking coffee. He's not part of a conversation. He's in his own world. He's doing his own thing. And that's very telling of his character and the way that these other characters in this family maybe have a relationship with him. It's not so much of a personal relationship because they don't communicate with one another. It's more so that he is the father, he provides for them, and that's kind of really all that he does for them, is what I'm kind of assuming. But yeah, I do think that this was very interesting the way they did have him turned around. At a certain point, the father, though, does turn and ask Yoshiki if he's finished with his research. And it's strange the way this happens because Kaoru is almost still talking. Like, I know she's kind of finished what she was saying, but she was saying something and then he immediately turns and asks Yoshiki. So it's maybe telling us that he wasn't really listening at all. He was in his own world and now he's just kind of interjecting and creating his own dialogue. And yeah, he's just kind of curious about how Yoshiki's doing with his research, and Yoshiki's just like, yeah, I need those books a little longer. After this then we do go to the high school, and within the school we see that Hikaru has not shown up. He is not present at school. They are all kind of wondering where he's at. And conversely, Yoshiki has apparently shown up early, and yeah, Maki's teasing him like, oh, you're obviously excited for summer. I believe that the way they're talking here, this is the last day of school. I think the headmaster actually literally says that this is the last day in the semester before summer vacation, summer break. So they are kind of all coming around Yoshiki's table here, and they're talking, and they're all just having a nice little time. One of the funniest things I think in this episode that isn't necessarily intentional, or maybe it is that Yoshiki asks Maki how his arm is, and Maki says it's healing all right, but he can't play baseball. And then within the very next shot, well, actually it's showing a shot of the teacher's face on the chalkboard, but then in the next shot we see Yoshiki's arm and the print that's on it very visibly. It's very dark, it's getting kind of red, and it's looking very raw and almost infected, I would say. Like, it's very, very interesting to look at now that it's been there for so long. And so nobody's questioning it. We ask Maki, like I just said, how his arm is, but nobody's asking Yoshiki about what the hell's going on with his, and he has it visible for everyone to see. Yu mentions that Asako has been depressed as of late, and I think we all know why that is, because of what she witnessed the other day, last episode, in episode number 11, with Yoshiki and Hikaru in the hallway. She saw that clear as day. She knew what was happening, and that worried her, that upset her, and that has made her start to question a lot of things and have all of these doubts, and she's been thinking. So while the characters are all in the assembly and they're starting to sing this song, I don't really know what it was, but I guess it's just something that they do. We start to see Hikaru kind of go through the hits. He is going to the locker room, he's going to the classroom, he's going to the library, everywhere that he can associate with happy times, happy memories, and just being alive and being a person. He goes and visits these places and, kind of like touches these items fondly and remembers happy times while everyone else is off singing. So he's off in his own world, and this is kind of how he sees himself. He's different, he's not like them, and he does not really belong to be alongside them, is kind of how I'm interpreting this. He wants to go do his own thing, because otherwise he could have spent this moment with everyone and he could have made another memory before he went off and did what he did. But he wanted this moment of being alone. And I guess Asako feels that he's there because she excuses herself and goes to the room where Hikaru is also present at. In the next scene, we see Asako approaching this fake Karu, and this ends up leading to one of the most powerful scenes in the whole series. And this I was expecting to be the most powerful scene within this episode, but then we get the final scene of the whole series. Well, not the final because the post-credit, but you know what I mean. And wow, this scene right here was very, very moving and very, I don't know, it just did a great job of being quite eye-opening, especially in relation to Yoshiki. I love what they did here with Asako, because she realized these things and she goes into the room speaking to Hikaru quite normally, like, oh, look at you playing hooky or whatever she says. And then she just straight up basically asks, you're not really Hikaru, are you? I saw something happen the other day. I heard your voice change. Everything was different about you. There was no semblance of the real Hikaru whatsoever. And she kind of realizes this as well, because at one point, like when they're having like a normal conversation, they're talking about schoolwork during the summer break, and she says she's going to get hers all done in the first week, whereas Yu-chan, she's going to get hers done in the last day and she's going to be crying about it. And Hikaru here says, I like doing schoolwork, so I'm going to get mine done immediately too. And this kind of is a moment where she realizes, okay, my suspicions are all but confirmed at this point. The Hikaru I knew did not enjoy schoolwork whatsoever. He hated it. And so to hear this other version say that he loves it, that's it. That's when she asks. But we get a very surprising scene interspliced into all of this, where the company guy shows up to Takeda's house, and it's like, yeah, so the whole thing with Nanaki, it's all made up. It's all bullshit. Nanaki's not real. And I'm just like, what? But at the same time, this would make perfect sense, because it would answer all of those weird questions that I and Yoshiki have been asking, where it's like, well, if Nanaki exists, why did these things suddenly start happening, whereas in the past things were already happening? Like, it gives some clarity as to that, but there's still a grand scheme, a grand conspiracy within this village, and we don't know what that is. We need to find out. But the company guy does not really share much more than that, sadly. So yeah, the whole trial was, or ritual rather, is just nonsense, which is what Hikaru's father was saying in the previous episode during the flashback while Yoshiki was speaking with his father. And yeah, the company guy says, yeah, I'm gonna save all of you, but I gotta get to the bottom of this. And he kind of seems to know a lot more than he shares here, so he knows something that he didn't share within this, as to the true nature of this thing, whatever is happening in this village. I feel like he's done enough digging and he understands enough now that he could probably do something, but we're going to have to wait for season 2 to find out what that is. In the scene where Asako does ask Hikaru about who he is, what he is, and everything like that, she is standing quite far away from him. There's a lot of distance and a lot of objects between them, so there are several layers of protection for her. You can interpret from this scene based on the fact that there are rows of chairs and desks in between them. But at the same time, she is on the dark side of the screen. She is in the dark as to the truth here. And I think that that's kind of what this is telling us. She's in the dark, and Hikaru, he's in the light side. He's in the light, I guess he's got clarity right now and he's realized what he has to do. He's no longer in the dark about what he has to do. Whereas with Asako, she's in the dark about Hikaru and she wants to learn. So once she asked this, very interestingly, a curtain kind of blows in front of us and gives us a sense of like confusion, doubt, and anxiety, because anything could happen in that short snap of time, that short brief amount of time. And as she's saying that she saw him the other day, we are focusing in on Hikaru, and it's very terrifying here, honestly, because I'm worried about Asako first of all, but within this scene we don't get to see his eyes, and that's one of the biggest tells for Hikaru. Once his eyes start to glow red, you know shit's up, you know shit's about to go down, you know this is not the Hikaru that you want around. But we don't get to see his eyes, so we don't get to know just what he's thinking, how he's feeling, and all of this. It's left mysterious for now. And it just casts this doubt over the whole scene and casts doubt over this situation in general. The curtain blows in front again, and then we see Hikaru's eyes. He's looking at Asako, his eyes are glowing red, and it's scary. But he doesn't have a look of, I'm going to do something. He has a look of confusion and almost wonder, like an awe kind of look, where he's got his mouth kind of open looking at her. So I'm starting to think, shit, something bad's about to happen. But then the curtain blows in front again, and he switches his face back to normal. No more glow. And he's like, wow, you really shouldn't say those things in front of me. Asako does say that she's not going to tell anyone, which I believe entirely. I think she is one of the most trustworthy characters, I would say, in this entire series. For me, I feel like I would trust her over just about anyone else. And when she says that, I believe her, but it is still incredibly sad. And she does also say then immediately after this that the fact that this is not the real Hikaru, it kind of scares her. It's weird, it's not normal, it's just kind of absurd, really. And I guess in her mind she's going through all the past moments that she's had with Yoshiki and Hikaru lately, and she's thinking about stuff like Swamp Man. She's thinking about Hikaru asking about if Unuki was walking amongst them and stuff like this. She pieced it all together, and she probably knows just about everything that the boys know without actually knowing everything. I don't know if that makes sense. So Asako does then say that she cannot act like Yoshiki does now that she knows for sure that this is not the real Hikaru. Hikaru has confirmed it. She says that she cannot continue to act differently and act, you know, like Yoshiki does, that this is normal, that this is the real Hikaru. She can't do that. She's not strong enough to do that. She has to treat this Hikaru as differently, though she does say she doesn't see it in any negative light or anything. She doesn't hold ill will or anything towards it. So she's very mature. She's very strong. I do really, really, really love her character. I'll be completely honest. I think she is such a great, strong character and so well written. She does then begin to tear up, and you see tears falling onto her hands. We're looking down towards her hands. She's not looking up. It's almost like a perspective shot. She cannot look at Hikaru after hearing what he just said. She's looking down. Yeah, the perspective shots in this series have been absolutely phenomenal. I have been such a huge fan of them. And Hikaru then kind of voices his apology then when he asks her if she even holds no ill will towards him in regards to her ear because of what Hikaru did. She kind of like doesn't hold a grudge or anything about it. In fact, she had even forgotten that he was the reason for it. So he apologizes anyway. And then he straight up shares that he promised Yoshiki he would not hurt her anymore and that he would not kill. And when he said this, I was very shocked. I was like, wow, he actually just said that out loud. Like, he basically shared with her that he was going to kill her. He was going to hurt her. But he's not going to do that anymore because of a promise. But it's nice to see that because of that promise, he actually proved that he wouldn't. He did not carry out that act. He promised he wouldn't. And another thing, I'm surprised that he just straight up said that he kills people or he has killed in the past. That just doesn't seem like something you would tell anyone. But yeah, she then immediately is like, wow, you really are not human at all. Asako asks the most important question in her mind. Is the real Hikaru still out there alive somewhere? And Hikaru immediately rips the band-aid off and says, no. This body that I'm walking around in is nothing more than a corpse. This is the real Hikaru's body, and he does not exist anymore. He is dead. He is past. Man, it broke my heart to hear him say this to Asako. I knew that she would take this in the way that she did, and I'm glad to see this because she took this in a very human way. She took this information in a way where she immediately began to mourn her dead friend. And the fact that she is what people would say ugly crying kind of further goes to show that this is not a normal thing that people experience and witness. And the fact that she has had all of this information thrown at her like in such a short amount of time, she is overwhelmed with sadness, grief, and this sense of mourning. And she is so upset, she's so sad, and she just starts to cry uncontrollably. She is trying though to kind of hold it together. It looks like she's pulling herself in. She's not making herself visibly like she's crying, unless you see her face on, but from behind or something, you wouldn't be able to tell. So she's kind of trying to pull herself together or hold herself together, it would seem like, in order to not look like she's crying to anyone who's to maybe walk past or something like that. But she's still mourning, she's still grieving. And this is something that Hikaru realizes when he walks over and wipes a tear from her face. And it's something that I thought was very touching because it shows that he doesn't want her to be upset or crying, and he's acting out on emotion. He's acting out on a want to help her be better, and he goes and wipes the tear, and she's surprised, he's surprised, and he just kind of realizes Yoshiki never had this chance to grieve. He never had this opportunity to mourn. And that's probably why he is the way that he is, where he's got all of these feelings eating him up inside. And so he starts to wonder, if he was to have never taken this body, would Yoshiki's life be better? If he was to go and live on the mountain by himself, would Yoshiki's life be better? Would everyone here's life be better? And it's a good thought. I like that he is very aware that his existence is causing pain for others, but at the same time there's more depth to it. And Asako herself even said she doesn't hold ill will. She doesn't, I think, want him to go away, but Hikaru thinks that might be the best way to allow everyone to go on living their normal lives and be better people because of it. And it is heartbreaking to think that Hikaru is aware that Yoshiki's current suffering is because of his being here, and knowing that his Hikaru is no longer alive. It's so complicated, the whole situation. And all Hikaru can do is apologize to Asako for basically being alive and her Hikaru no longer being alive. But at the same time, like, that Hikaru did die. Like, that's confirmed. That 100% happened. We saw it. It's not like his body was taken over or anything. He died and willed for someone to be by Yoshiki's side, which is exactly what this being is doing with Hikaru's body. I don't know who all these people are that come around to Yoshiki's house, but you can tell yet again from body language and everything that Yoshiki is different. Yoshiki stands out. Yoshiki does not fit in here. Everyone is turned around looking at Kaoru and the baby, whereas Yoshiki is staring straight down. He is not looking in that direction. He's not part of this crowd. I do think it's cool though that we get this like establishing shot from the exact same angle twice in this episode, and they kind of are very different scenes because Yoshiki looks very uncomfortable here, but at the same time when he was sitting at the table he was also hunched over like this, so he looks the exact same in all honesty. Someone said something very creepy to Kaoru where they're like, hey, you should get married and have children. I'm assuming they meant like, hey, one day you should, but the way the subtitles are here anyway, the way it reads is like, hey, you should get married like now and have babies like sometime soon. This girl's like 12 years old probably, like at most. And the guys at the table start asking Yoshiki about a girlfriend, if he's going to cut his hair, if Kaoru's still not going to school, just asking all these annoying ass questions. Very gossipy and very, I can't think of the right word, but yeah, it kind of is more reason for Yoshiki to keep his stuff to himself because he doesn't like the way these people just treat stuff like gossip. And when they're asking about a girlfriend and everything, it's just like, oh my god, tell me you don't know the character without telling me you don't know the character. And we do get another perspective shot, the final one maybe of the series, the season, I can't remember, where he's staring down and you see his bangs yet again. He's not looking up, and Yeah, it's a kind of dissociative technique, I guess, removing himself from a situation, this barrier that he has of his hair, kind of separating himself from these awkward questions that he doesn't want to answer. But while he's trying to avoid all these awkward questions, Hikaru shows up and is like, hey, let's get out of here. So yeah, he knows Yoshiki. He knows that Yoshiki would not want to be here. He knows how to save him from a situation like this. And I think that that's a sign of great friendship. And then this is when we get one of the coolest moments in the episode. The ending that we have been watching for the past 11 episodes. Finally, we see those scenes here within this episode. And I think that the way that ending was done, like the way it tells you the story and we get to see them getting to that point, and then we get to see it within the episode itself. And for one, the ending visuals do not play within this episode. The ending song does at a very pivotal moment and a very poignant and strong moment. It does play, and it's a great addition to that scene. But I do think it's really cool that the ending visuals technically don't play with the ending song, but the visuals within the ending are still within the episode. I cannot think of another situation where I've seen that before. I just thought that was so cool. I really, really love that so much, that the ending visuals were used in such a way. It's so cool. But this leads them to the beach. But within this scene, we actually get dialogue. It's not the ending that's playing. It's a scene within the series. And there's dialogue. He's apologizing. Hikaru is apologizing for the other day, presumably with, almost killing him. And Yoshiki, very like himself, is like, well, how many times is that now that you've tried to kill me? And the craziest part of that is that he's like, yeah, it doesn't really do anything for me anymore. It doesn't surprise me. I'm unfazed by it at this point. It's just normal. Which, that's not normal. That's not normal. That shouldn't be a normal. But I understand where he's coming from and how he says this. He does not want to lose Hikaru, and this is better than nothing in a sense. And as he's saying he's unfazed by this, Hikaru notices the mark on his arm, and it's a reminder of the damage that he has done, like a permanent damage and mark that he has left on Yoshiki. And that's then when Yoshiki says, well, I tried to kill you too, remember, I stabbed you. And so as Hikaru notices, which is what I think is great, Hikaru is starting to learn to read Yoshiki specifically. Not necessarily read people, but you read Yoshiki. He understands him a lot, and he knows the intricacies of his character in a sense, and he's able to recognize that this is just Yoshiki acting tough. And back at the beginning of the series, this Hikaru might not have been able to realize this, but he has learned so much and he has grown so much with Yoshiki that he's able to recognize things like this now. And I think that's very telling, and I think that's a sign of the character growth of Hikaru. The way that they incorporated real life imagery, real life video footage within this scene, I think was really cool. Because once again, it does remind you of the ending, which uses real life visuals, but also the way that they use these real visuals, real video recordings, it also gives this whole situation and scenario a sense of gravity. And despite the fact that there's a monster here, an alien being, whatever you want to call Hikaru, the situations and experiences that these boys are going through are quite real. And I think that that's maybe what this is telling us, despite the fact that everything is so dramatized and not exactly real. There's a sense of fantasy, I guess you could say. What Yoshiki especially goes through with his inner feelings, that's very real. And I don't know if this is a way of telling us that these characters could live in the real world. These characters are people that live in the real world. People can relate to these characters. And the things that they go through, the things that they experience. That's how I'm going to interpret the real footage here, because otherwise I'm not really drawing anything, but I'm sure there's probably a simpler reason for it, a simpler explanation. Not that there needs to be an explanation, but you know what I mean? I need to throw some praise at the OST for the series. I feel like I haven't been doing that enough, but the OST is so beautiful and so encapsulating of every scene that we see here. It really does a great job of furthering the story and just gripping you and making you feel more than you obviously would just from the footage alone. It really helps to drive that narrative and story along. And the scene here where Yoshiki is talking about one day hoping to find a home, hoping to find a place where he can be himself, a place where he can belong, a place where he doesn't have to hide anything, in less words. There's a really beautiful like symphonic sound in the background. I can't explain it because I'm not fully aware of terminology and stuff like that when it comes to that stuff, but you can tell that this is like a symphonic, you know, orchestra kind of sound with the long drawn like strings and like the, I don't know, but it's so beautiful, and it really does add this air of hopefulness and beauty to this scene, because Yoshiki does want to belong. Yoshiki doesn't want to keep having to hide how he feels, his feelings, and who he is forever. But he has to in his own mind, because nobody accepts him, nobody knows who he is, and he doesn't belong here. He does not feel welcome here. He does not feel like he belongs here. And a part of that can also be attributed to the fact that a while back he recalls another fellow in this neighborhood who was homosexual, and he was not welcomed. He was not seen as normal and welcome as everyone else. In fact, Hikaru himself said he was diseased, which is absolutely terrible. And during this scene, Hikaru says yeah, because he knows exactly what he means. He knows exactly all of this. He also feels torn right now, because on one hand he has a home and it is here, but he feels like he needs to leave. So his situation is actually the reverse of Yoshiki's, but he still understands because he's experiencing those same feelings, the struggles of having a home and feeling welcomed and all of this. But then it's also during this moment where we see the scene where Hikaru turns to Yoshiki and pulls that goofy face. Something that we saw him do a long time ago, and he was like, damn, he didn't even react. But this time he gets a laugh out of him, and Hikaru himself comments on it. And I think it's really cool to get context for the scenes within the ending for the series, for this season, the ending visuals. I think it's really cool getting context. And this is Hikaru kind of being the real Hikaru here, where the real Hikaru would have taken this situation that was quite gloomy and sad, and you know, there was this air of sadness and upset hanging over the air, and he would have made Yoshiki laugh. He would have turned the situation around, and he did this so perfectly. So this is very strange, because it's like almost something that the real Hikaru would have done. It turns out that the boys were actually off to get Kaoru a ring, a pool ring, and they got the cutest one that they could find, and she's gonna love it, and the two boys are carrying it around, and Yoshiki's like, I don't like carrying this, it's kind of uncomfortable, and Hikaru's like, deflate it, but Yoshiki's like, I don't want to feel sorry for the poor thing if I deflate it. So yeah, I don't know if this is further telling you his mental state where he doesn't want to remove something from its body, like it's kind of like with the whole Hikaru situation. I don't know how to further that point, but I think you can kind of understand what I'm going for here. The boys go and sit in a park, and this is where Hikaru says, I think I could make any wish just about true. I can't recall all the memories that I have from my time as Nanaki, but I definitely have this sense and this feeling that I could make a wish come true. Given the opportunity to make one of those wishes, Yoshiki declines. And I think in this moment he might have been thinking about asking for Hikaru back, but he recalls the dangers of that because of what happened with the Indo family's Hichi. But it did look like Yoshiki thought about it for a moment. And this is kind of reminding me of the previous episode with the whole thing with the princess, where the thing was like, chicken tastes better than human, and the monster hesitated. Like, this hesitation from Yoshiki is making me think of that scene from the book. But I don't like, I hate that Yoshiki calls himself a monster in this episode, because I don't see him that way at all, but I guess you could draw that comparison because of the previous episode, the book. Yoshiki starts talking about all this stuff with Nanaki, all these questions that he has, and we get to see Hikaru's simplicity and childlike wonder and like childlike life, where he's just like, oh Yoshiki, watch this, and he starts dancing with Mince the cat, and it's a really funny scene, and it really kind of shows the dynamic and the difference between these two characters, because one is very like, we need to figure this out, and you know, diagrams in the sky and like all these symbols and trying to think of all this shit, and the other's just like, haha, dancing cat. You know. So I think that this scene was incredible. I loved seeing this little dancing cat too. I thought it was so funny. The scene where Hikaru asks Yoshiki if he'd like to go to the beach, to the water, the ocean, it's very interesting because he's looking out towards the mountain, and it's him basically being like, in his mind probably being like, well, this is where I'm going to be going after today. And so he's looking out at it, and there's this big shadow cast across it. It's from the clouds, but it's the fact that there is still this big shadow cast across the mountain. And then he turns to Yoshiki and asks this question, and light starts to come across his face. You know, when he's looking out towards the mountain, there's this shadow cast over him and the mountain, but when he looks at Yoshiki and he's talking about doing things, he's making plans, light comes into his world. Yeah, like, it's just so sad because this is his home. He shouldn't be leaving. So Hikaru and Yoshiki show up to the ocean, and before this, we see that the company guy is on a train too, so we're wondering, where's he going? Is he also headed here? But how does he know where they are? Is he able to track them or something? Like, I don't know. But it's very curious. And Hikaru immediately is like, oh my god, the ocean, it's amazing, this is incredible, it's so big. And he goes to run into the water, but he realizes his shoes are on, he's careless, and he kicks them off. And then we get this really cool shot where we're watching Hikaru behind his shoes. Like, the camera, if there was a camera, is pointed behind the shoes, looking out towards Hikaru. And I think it's a really cool shot. And he runs straight into the ocean, and he's kicking around, he's doing cartwheels, and he's having so much fun. This is his first time here, and he is experiencing it, and he's like a child. I think it's so adorable and precious. He eventually goes out of frame, and he looks at this snake, and this snake is looking back at him, and they both have this moment where their, you know, killer instincts are showing, but they both decide not to. They hold back and they decide not to. So I guess this is kind of giving you an analogy of, you know, predators don't always have to be predators. They can also sit back and just live, exist, and just live their lives. So this is exactly what Hikaru does as well. The snake and Hikaru both turn their red eyes off, and they no longer have killer instinct. Hikaru is so thankful, and he's so glad that they kept their promise, and he even says that they kept their promise to go to the beach. And then he starts to wonder what the other characters are doing, their other friends, and it's nice to see that he thinks about them. You know, like, this Hikaru is thinking about his other friends, and he starts to think about the time where they skipped school, and he's like, wow, I think I would have had a lot of fun singing that song in the choir, because he was loving it. He was singing every chance they got. He's singing outside of school. I think it's really cute. He keeps thinking back to that moment of like, that's something I wanted to do. You know, that's a moment for him where he's like, that's something I wanted to do. It's not a choice that was made for me. It wasn't a request that was given to me that I had to fulfill. I wanted to live my life this way, and I wanted to go sing in that choir. But it also does make it quite sad that they didn't do it, because this is perhaps one of the only things he wanted to do. So while staring out at the ocean, he starts to sing the song, and he's singing the wrong lyrics apparently, and all Yoshiki can do is look on in shock, which eventually turns into like a happy reluctance, or like a smile, you know, like it's like he's content in these moments. We then get the moment where Hikaru reveals basically all, and he says that he is only here because of the request that the original Hikaru made. That's surprising to Yoshiki, but it makes a lot of sense to us, because I feel like him saying this, like, sure, that's why he's here, but, you know, he probably felt that way in the beginning where this was the reason. But I think as time has gone on, and, you know, at this point, eventually, now and everything, he wants to be here. He doesn't see it as a duty. He wants to be here. And it also casts doubt over this request, this duty aspect, when he says that he's also choosing not to fulfill it and see it through all the way, because he's going to return to the mountain. So it's almost like he doesn't have to fulfill and follow through on all these requests, or at least not see them through all the way. But requests have to be fulfilled in one aspect or another, perhaps. And as he's saying this, Yoshiki is in disbelief. He's like, no, you can't leave. And the way that this scene is done is so creatively great, because they are in two different worlds. Yoshiki is standing on the sand looking out fully clothed and everything. Hikaru is in the water looking out towards Yoshiki, and the tide is going out close to Yoshiki but not quite enough to pull him in. It's getting close to him, but then it's returning. The tide also never goes beyond Hikaru, so there's this perpetual barrier and gap in space and object between them, which is the ocean, and the ocean is vast and endless. So the gap in the distance between them is vast and endless, and the fact that it never quite touches either of them shows that they are never quite in the same world, in the same realm, in the same mindset or anything. There's just always going to be this one thing, this something between them. But it does get close, it ebbs and it flows, and it goes out and it reaches out and then it returns. Kind of like the dependency, I guess, that the two boys have in one another. Hikaru says that the monster within him wants souls, and he doesn't know if this has always been the case. He doesn't know if he is this monster, if this is something that he wants. Like, he's finding it hard to differentiate his identities, I guess, and he's just wondering if this has always been the case. But then we see this really creepy, cool shot where we see a lot of Hikaru's body is taken up by this like shadowy figure, but there is still parts of Hikaru peeking through underneath it all. It's not just all shadow. Yoshiki is in disbelief. He cannot believe that Hikaru is even contemplating and thinking about leaving. And all Yoshiki's screaming out is like, what about all the research we've done? What about all the work we've done? What about everything we've been trying to do? But Hikaru's saying, I want to make your life better. I want to make it so that the rest of your life can be happy. You don't have to worry. You don't have to have all these thoughts and all these doubts and all these things hanging over you. You can live a normal life. And it's very beautiful from Hikaru. He's thinking very positively and thinking about Yoshiki as well here. And it's the interesting thing here is that within these shots as well, Yoshiki is the one in the darkness and Hikaru is the one with all the light hitting him. They both changed so much. So Hikaru is trying to very calmly and very positively put this to Yoshiki, where he's like, I just want to leave so that you can live a happy life. If I go away, you'll get your happily ever after. And Yoshiki's like, but what about you? You don't want to leave. You found a home here. Why would you want to leave? And as he's saying this, he runs into the water. Still got his shoes on and everything, so he's not thinking about anything. He's just in fight or flight mode almost, it would seem like, and he's choosing to fight. So he runs towards Hikaru, grabs him by the collar and everything, and then he's like, hey, you get me half your being. You could die if you leave. You know, you're not going to be able to do everything that you were able to do back before you gave me half your being. And this is kind of what he's going with in order to try to convince him not to leave. And Yoshiki's just like, hey, stop worrying about all that stuff. You don't need to worry about any of that. And this is while Yoshiki is still gripping and hanging on to Hikaru. So it's like this literal sense of like holding on and not letting go, not being ready to let go. He's physically and literally doing this, and this is something that the manga author, the manga creator, has done such an incredible job with, at presenting these little moments, these scenes that have deeper meaning and deeper actual layers than you would think. This simple act of grabbing on and holding on, because it's not then until Hikaru grabs Yoshiki's arm and forces him to let go. Visual storytelling at its absolute finest there. And he starts to list all the reasons why they are not the same. My favorite food is this. His favorite food was that. I like this. He liked that. I hate this. He hated that. He didn't like this. I love this. So many different things. And Yoshiki during all this is like, stop, 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 stop it. He does not want to hear it. He is still holding on to this being a replacement for Hikaru, when this could never be a replacement for Hikaru. And hearing all these differences between them, it's a lot to hear. But these are things that he has also noticed, but he's just never acted on or called out. And I think Hikaru did an absolutely incredible job at expressing himself here. He was so concise and he was so honest. And he said words that we've all been thinking, but he put them into words for us, where he was like, thank you so much for everything. I had so much fun hanging out with you. I know that I might have just been a replacement for Hikaru to you, but you gave me everything. You gave me a life. You gave me a purpose. You gave me meaning. And then he hits us with the very impactful, I love you, Yoshiki. And the heartbreaking thing about this is that this is not the real Hikaru, the one that Yoshiki loved wholeheartedly with literal romantic feelings. he's hearing the words "I love you" from the fake Karu. And that has to be heartbreaking for Yoshiki to hear this. And you know, you can make your jokes about, oh, Hikaru was the first to say it, all of this, but I don't think it's the time or place for anything like that. I think that this is just a really, really sad and upsetting scene for Yoshiki here. And you can tell this as well because as Hikaru's saying, I love you, Yoshiki pulls his hat over his eyes, over his face, so that he can't be seen. And when we see Yoshiki's face, man, this poor kid. I can't even imagine how he's feeling in these moments. To have heard the words I love you, Yoshiki, from the voice of the person that you once loved, with the face of the person that you once loved, that's tough. That is so incredibly brutal. That is brutal for Yoshiki in this situation. But Hikaru does also follow it up with, like, I don't think I love you in a romantic way or anything like that, but I still have these feelings for you. I have these feelings of deep love, like this, like it's almost like a familial love, like this unconditional love. Whereas the feelings that Yoshiki feels of love, those are unrequited. You know, that's an unrequited love. And yeah, I think it's great that Hikaru was able to express this, and he's able to smile and say, that's how I feel. You know, he's saying, I feel, with italics on I, an emphasis on I, because this is not the real Hikaru. This is this version of Hikaru, and he's sharing those feelings that he has. Specifically him. I guess you could also draw a comparison to the episode where Yoshiki took them out of school, because they went and did things that they both enjoyed, and then they had this really heartbreaking moment where Yoshiki tried to kill the other, and this time it's Hikaru trying to say goodbye and leave Yoshiki. You know, there's a similarity in the two scenes, I guess you could say. But here within this scene, Yoshiki says no. And he starts to question who the real monster is. And visuals behind him are showing happy couples, you know, happy heterosexual straight couples, man, woman, and even children and everything, which is then when he asks who the real monster is. So it's telling you how he feels about his sexuality, how he feels about the way he feels. He doesn't think it's normal. He might not be happy with how he feels. He just sees it as a burden, and he sees himself as a monster for feeling these ways and for not being accepted and for not feeling like he would be accepted. He even shares that he's always hidden his true self. He must always have known who he was and what he was. And he just cannot live a normal life because of that. And he shares that being with this Hikaru saves him, and that's why he wants to save this Hikaru. He doesn't want him to go away because he feels like he is saved when he's around this version of Hikaru. Even though it's not the real one, it's still something to hold on to. It's still an aspect of Hikaru. It's still his body that he's seeing. It's still his voice. And some of those memories are still brought up, but this isn't the real him. So it's a really tricky, complicated one. And Yoshiki even recognizes this himself. But he still feels like he is saved when he is around this thing. And yeah, the way that this is told to us, there's a bubble, it pops, and it's, yeah. And Yoshiki says he's the one being selfish. He is doing all of this for himself. Everything he has done has been for himself. It hasn't been in good nature like he's been saying. He hasn't been doing it for Hikaru. He's been doing it for his own selfish, greedy reasons. And I don't believe this entirely. I do think he's been true and honest when he said that he wants this Hikaru to live a life of its own without having to act human and to be able to be itself. I think he truly meant that. I don't think that everything he's saying in this scene now, where he's saying that he's done everything in a selfish light, everything he said has been selfish, I don't think that's entirely true, but I do think there's some truth to it. I think it's a bit of a half-truth. And as he's having all these feelings and doubts, Hikaru's voice rings true and he's like, hey, thanks for everything. And he hits his peace sign pose and he goes to turn around. And he says, thanks for everything. But Yoshiki does not allow this. He screams that he's not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to just give up. You're not a replacement. He should move on. Well, he can't. He could have moved on long ago if Hikaru had died when he saw his dead body, but after Hikaru woke up, there's no moving on anymore. This is it. They're in this. But in the back of his mind, he's hearing the voice of reason, another voice of his own saying, hey, what Hikaru's saying, That's his choice, and that's fine. He's made a choice, and we should honor that. But the way this is done is so creepy. It looks like a manga drawing for Yoshiki, but with a human mouth moving, so it's really, really creepy. And as Yoshiki is screaming at Hikaru like, I done so much for you, I've busted my ass, you should be staying here and being thankful, just all this shit, the voice in his head of reason is saying, hey, he's a real monster, we're not. I'm not a real monster. So it's this conflict of interest, this conflict and doubt and everything that Yoshi's feeling, he's hearing this all in his head. And that's then when we get a really sad scene as he snapped out of this moment of hearing all these thoughts in his head where Hikaru says, you think I'm happy with this? Do you think I really want to leave? And he pushes Yoshiki away, further creating the distance between the two of them when Yoshiki has been grabbing onto him once again. So Hikaru is physically and literally trying to create a gap and a distance between them, but Yoshiki keeps closing in on that gap and making that gap non-existent. So then the voice of reason is once again like, well, if he goes away we can live a happy life. And then we cut back to the boys fighting in the water, and then we cut back to the voice of reason saying, I don't want that. And that's something that we can call back to when Yoshiki asked Hikaru to kill him. He was saying in his head, I don't want that. And this thing that Yoshiki is seeing, the fact that it's red and we have this fuzzy filter over it that we see every time there's some weirdness happening with Hikaru and everything, anything from the entity, it could be said that this is in relation to the mixing within Yoshiki's mind, within his soul. And I love this introspection from Yoshiki because he's saying different things from what he's thinking. You can kind of see this play out throughout the scene, and I think it's so incredibly well done here. And the Yoshiki that we see that's saying all these things has such an intense desperation in his voice. He's throwing himself around, he's grabbing at Hikaru, something that is very unlike this character that we've never seen before. He is clinging to this desperate hope and longing and wanting of Hikaru. He does not want him to leave. Hilariously, the company man is watching from a distance, making a little camera out of his finger and thumbs and watching this like it's a movie. He's just watching this like it's cinema. Yoshiki's like, I'm hiding myself, the true self that I am. Nobody knows what I am. Nobody will know what I am because I always hide myself. And that makes me a monster too. Which is a painfully heartbreaking way to think about yourself. And we start to see this voice of reason, these thoughts within his head kind of fade away, and it's all just one Yoshiki now. He says, it doesn't matter what you are. I don't care what you are. It doesn't matter. None of that matters to me. What matters is you. What matters is you and me. We are together, and that's what's important to me. I don't want this to go away. I want us to be together. He's kind of laying out exactly how he feels here. He's sharing his love for Hikaru without saying the words, without saying he loves him, without saying he has these romantic interested feelings in him. He is laying it all out there, and Hikaru understands. So I think it's really, really interesting how he says so much here without saying specific words. And that's then when the ending theme starts playing over this, and Yoshiki falls to his knees, grabs at Hikaru, and is basically in a begging position where he is pleading to him, you're not a replacement for Hikaru whatsoever. It's just the fact that he does not want Hikaru gone. He wants Hikaru in his life, and having this version of Hikaru disappear would just make things even worse for him. So yes, he is being selfish in the way he's saying this. And Hikaru just laughs and he's like, finally, you're saying how you really feel. It took you long enough. And he has tears in his eyes, snot running down his nose. And he grabs Yoshiki's head in a way that reminds us of the way Yoshiki would grab Hikaru's head. And it's so touching. It's a beautiful moment. And it's a moment of acceptance for Yoshiki. He's looking up at Hikaru, realizing Hikaru has accepted who he is and what he is and what he's saying about Hikaru. And Hikaru's just like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. I can't just go away and leave now that you've said all this. The way that this scene is done as well is so beautiful because on one side of the screen, the right side of the screen, you've got the sun, which is blinding. It is so bright on the right side of the screen, beating onto the water. And on the left side, you've got this darkness. You know, you've got the dark side. And not that they're evil or they're on the dark side of everything, but they do end up on that side. You know, they're on the side of not necessarily good for humanity, but the better option might have been if Hikaru had gone onto the mountain. And you can see that they are choosing otherwise here. They are on the other side of this. They are going to do their own thing. And instead of answering Yoshiki's question about whether he was going to leave, he laughs at the pool ring that is floating away. And it's very Hikaru. He's laughing and he's pointing at it. And it's a very escape the situation kind of a moment, but it does also feel very Hikaru. Yoshiki here says there are more important things in this pool float, and he's referencing, you know, this moment with Hikaru right now. Says, hey, let it just float away, like it's not important right now. And Hikaru's like, you're more of a brat than I thought, you're more of a brat than even I am. And that's how it would appear that the episode ends. But then we do get a scene where it shows the boys sitting on the beach side, the river side, the ocean side rather, when it is nighttime, staring out at it. There is quite a considerable gap between them, and the company guy comes walking up with the pool float. So yeah, that's setting up for a scene where season 2 will begin, and I don't know where that's going to go, but I suspect he won't be here to kill Hikaru, but he's going to be asking questions, figuring things out, and maybe giving them some more information. So season 2 is going to be great. I'm very excited for it, but damn, this was a tease and a cliffhanger to end the season for sure. And yeah, that was easily the most powerful scene in the whole series, I would say, with the boys in the ocean. And yeah, I guess like water as well. You know, you could bring some religious kind of aspect into that, of like a baptism, you know, rebirth in the water and everything like that. When Hikaru is holding Yoshiki, as Yoshiki is looking up at him, you know, there could be some sort of idea of rebirth or something there. Who knows? I'm not here to dive into that, but it is an idea that I could throw out there just to throw it out there. And yeah, what an incredible series finale this was. I couldn't have asked for more. And yeah, I'm glad that they had this moment. I'm glad that they had these thoughts and these discussions and these really deep, hard-hitting moments within this episode, because we needed this with Asako and with Yoshiki. So yeah, I did put up a little post just before I started this episode, so it hasn't even been up that long, where I asked if anyone had any questions. I could answer them within this episode itself if anyone was to ask questions within that post on the YouTube community tab. And yeah, I'm going to answer those questions now, so I haven't read these yet, but we're going to check them out. Sorry, before I do check these questions out as well, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone for the constant support across the series. This has been so overwhelming. This is the first time, like, I have a screenshot that I took earlier in case, you know, I jinx myself, but this is the first time I've ever uploaded an entire series of episodes reactions, and there hasn't been a single dislike on any of those videos. It is mind-blowing. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so blown away by the support. You guys have been so positive in the comments, and it has been so rewarding checking out the series and being so excited with all of you guys. One thing I do want to apologize for is that over the course of the past couple of weeks, I have been so focused on getting these episodes out. I have not really had time to respond to comments, but I have seen every comment. So I just want you guys to know, and I do appreciate every comment that has been under any of those episodes, but I just haven't had the time to sit down and reply to them because I tend to go in depth and everything, and I'm so focused on trying to get these done that I'm trying to put my time into that instead. So I do deeply apologize. I like to be involved in the community and everything, and I like to respond to the comments and everything. So I will try, now that this episode is finished and this is out there, I will probably go back and start replying to really old comments and working my way up to the most recent ones. So I apologize for that. But we're going to check out these comments now. So the first one that I see here is from Renee Writes, which, you know, going back to my comment about I see every comment, I read every comment. I know that you've been commenting under every video and you have been very positive, very supportive, and I just want to thank you. You've been very bubbly and I really love reading your comments every time. It really brightens my day. I hope you know that. And every comment out there is the exact same. You asked my favorite episode for this series. That's a tricky one because I'm a sucker for first episodes. If I feel gripped by a series in the first episode, I have such high regards for that episode. It happened with Frieren, and within this series as well, I loved episode 1 so much. But at the same time, episode 7 was so amazing. It felt like their big blowout episode, and it surprised me when I read that a lot of the content in episode 7 was anime original because it felt so perfect and so fitting for this series. So I just absolutely adored episode 7. So I might prefer 7 over episode 1, but episode 1 was amazing. And then, of course, recency bias comes in where I have to say this episode as well was phenomenal. It gave me so much that I was looking for, so much that I was asking for. And it feels almost like a mirrored image of episode 7 in a sense, where this time it's Hikaru giving Yoshiki a good time, whereas the last time it was Yoshiki giving Hikaru a good time. And yeah, it just feels like it's very similar to that episode, but very different at the same time. And there's so many things within this final episode, episode number 12, that just make it so incredible. So it's really tough to pick a favorite, but my top 3 are easily, I would say, number 1, number 7, and number 12. I hope that's not a cop-out answer giving 3 episodes, but it is really difficult and hard to choose just one out of those 3. And, you know, every episode within the series deserves its own shout out, but those 3 in particular, I would say. My favorite character, it's easy to say Yoshiki and Hikaru, either of those being my favorite characters. I love how goofy and aloof Hikaru is. I love his character, but honestly, the heart of the series and the depth and everything, I would say that my personal favorite is definitely Yoshiki. Yoshiki just brings so much to this, and he's such a great, well-written character, and his dealing with his sexuality and that being a key aspect of this series, and the horror within this series and everything that he experiences and the world that he lives in, the village, and how he feels with his place in this village. It's really great at telling us that, and I just love Yoshiki's character so much. I think he is a great character, and he is probably definitely my favorite character in this series. But I want to give a special shout out to my girl Asako. Asako is, I would say, like, not literally, but I would say she's almost like the heart of this series. She is the real true character here, where she lives life the way we wish Yoshiki could, in a sense, if that makes sense. She shows personality and emotion and character where Yoshiki cannot. I don't know if that's making sense, but I love Asuko so much. I think she is a great character too. So yeah, special shout out to Asuko. What is the most intriguing plot point that I am most looking forward to learning more about? That's easy. I know that you could say like the company, you could say Rie, you could say the company guy, you could say all these things. Takeda, what's going on there? But the most intriguing thing that I'm looking forward to is learning about Hichi. If my suspicions are correct, I think Hichi is more than we are being led to believe. I think that this whole thing with the Indo ritual and bringing Hichi up there is more than we are being led to believe. I think that if this whole thing with Nanaki is bullshit, then Hichi, they are doing something with it. They are keeping Hichi sealed away. But Hichi now is running loose. Hichi is running amok and killing people in the village. That's my suspicion anyway. I could be completely wrong there, But that's what I think, and that's what I'm most looking forward to, learning more about. And yes, I'm so looking forward to season 2. I cannot wait, and I cannot wait to get those answers. The next comment that we have is from Sophie8679, who asks, how do I think Hikaru and Yoshiki's relationship will develop after the finale? Am I worried, hopeful, or a mix of both? Oh, that's a great question, because I hadn't thought about how that relationship will develop, because I thought going into this episode that their relationship was in a great place, if I'm being perfectly honest. I thought that Yoshiki was finally treating Hikaru as a separate being, a separate person, a separate entity, not as even a human, and that Hikaru was starting to see a life. He was starting to enjoy things. He was starting to enjoy spending time with other people, other friends, and, you know, living more of a life than just Yoshiki. But after this final scene in this series, I can only imagine that the relationship will develop in a great way. I can only imagine that they will grow stronger together. That relationship will develop into something more. I don't think it's going to turn romantic, for the record, but I do think that they're going to have more trust in one another. They're not going to have all these moments anymore. I think that at this point, this is the end point for all of the doubt that the two had for one another. I think that going forward, it's going to be this mutual consensual relationship where they are both working towards figuring out things and working towards the betterment of this village. And I think this company guy is going to be a part of that. I think he is going to show up and give them a purpose, give them a goal, give them something to work towards while giving them answers. So I think that that's what that final scene is telling us. And I do think that this is, to compare this to like ReZero, for example, I think that this is kind of like Subaru's moment of letting go of those toxic feelings that he has and throwing his life away. I think that that's the end of this. And I think that the two are going to grow stronger and work towards something greater here. But at the same time, there is always, for me, a sense of worry, because I don't know how much I trust Hikaru, because of those instincts that are just within him, and that's something that is innate within him. It's just part of him. So yeah, there is worry for sure, but I would say more hope. I really appreciate that you two commented under this post. I greatly appreciate it, and thank you for your support, both of you. I really cannot thank everyone enough for all the support on this. I know I'm just repeating myself, but everyone has been so supportive. There are so many people that I could shout out that have been commenting under every video here, and I really just cannot wait to see where we go next in the future for the channel and beyond, and when Hikaru returns. I don't know if I plan to read the manga immediately. I will not read beyond this point, for the record. I will experience the series in anime form for the first time, but I might consider reading the first 5 volumes, I believe I was told that this covers. I don't want to wrap this up. I feel the same way I do every time I'm wrapping up a series. I feel so much emotion, so much sadness. I don't want to say goodbye, but it has come to that time. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this one up today. I hope that you guys have enjoyed my reactions to the Summer Hikaru Died. I have loved watching this, and if you have enjoyed, please do consider leaving a like on this video. Leaving a like on any of the videos would be great. Subscribing to the channel, that would be a great way to show support. And yes, of course, leaving a comment down below, sharing your love and appreciation and everything for this series. I want to celebrate the series in the comments, so please, in the comments down below, share your favorite everything, favorite characters, favorite OST, favorite episode, what you thought about the series as well. Please no spoilers, please no leading comments, but also please just share your love for the series. I cannot wait to read it. And as always, hit the bell down below so that you can be notified when videos like this one do go live, and share this with someone who you think might enjoy these videos. Share the whole playlist if you wish. It would be a great way to support me and the channel. And yeah, that's it. That's going to do it for me for today. Thank you for everything, everyone. As always, you guys are amazing. I hope that you guys are having a great day today and that you're able to take it easy. I will see you in the next one. This has been a great Hikaru summer, That's all I'm gonna say. And I know I'm watching this in October, but this has been a phenomenal Hikaru summer. And yeah, let's see what we get in the future. Take care.